The Honourable Kamal Cipollone, question 3.
Mr Speaker, to the Prime Minister, does he stand by all his government statements and actions?
On behalf of the Prime Minister, as I've said over 300 times, yes.
Supplementary. Who does he agree with? Winston Peters, who said, quote, "The name of this country is New Zealand. This person who came here in 2006, you're not going to change it," end quote. Or David Seymour, who said that, quote, "Well, I prefer to use New Zealand. I'm not here to stop other people saying Aotearoa," end quote. Or will he maintain his silence on this issue?
As an answer that's based on intellectual and academic integrity, the name of this country was always New Zealand until Pemba Reeves decided in the 1880s that he would call it Aotearoa, which is a massive insult to the people of Ngāi Tahu. That's not their name, and we are going to not make a name change for this country until, in the democratic traditions of this great nation, we first consult and get the agreement of the New Zealand people.
That's an interesting.
Supplementary. Do Winston Peters' comments suggest that New Zealanders who were born overseas should have fewer rights than those who were born here? And if so, will he condemn that?
Look, it is very, very clear that Mr. Peters made no such suggestion at all, but he paralleled the fact that in 2006, an application was made to a country called New Zealand. And that is still the same country that that person came to. Now, that's not an attack on any immigration or any immigrant at all.
Mr Speaker, will he stick up for migrant communities by disciplining Winston Peters and Shane Jones for their repeated attacks on members of Parliament based entirely on their country of origin, or will he continue to keep his head down by pretending that his minister's comments are not his problem?
The simple answer to that is that if you get a fallacious statement like that, it doesn't bear a response at all.
Well, it does actually, according to the rules. It just doesn't want to answer, does it?
Mr Speaker, how will he achieve the National New Zealand First Coalition agreement to train no fewer than 500 new frontline police by 27th of November 2025 when there are now 72 fewer police officers than when he became Prime Minister?
I thank the member for that question. The current police planning is for up to 650 recruits to commence training in the first half of 2025. This is 75 more than in the entirety of the 23-24 year the previous government was responsible for. We, in short, are on track.
Going backwards.
Does he agree with Winston Peters that the target of 500 additional police by the 27th of November 2025 would magically be met if police officers or officials would merely read the National New Zealand First Coalition agreement, or does he agree with the Police Commissioner who has all but admitted that the target won't be met until 2026 at the earliest?
Given the very, very remarkable record of Mr. Peters on this matter, where the last tranche of such training was a commitment for 1,800 but it ended up being successfully 2,338 in that tranche. And we are setting up for the same performance this time around. So that's why we've got confidence that on this matter we're on track.
Mr Speaker, is Winston Peters actually accomplishing anything for Aotearoa when he tells members of migrant communities that their views are worth less than people born in Aotearoa, and he instructs officials that they can meet political targets just by reading a coalition agreement? Or will he acknowledge that this is a divisive and counterproductive way to run a government?
That member will get an answer when she asks a question about a country called New Zealand, for which I'm responsible.
Point of order, the Honourable Kieran McAnulty.
Mr Speaker, I'd be concerned if the requirements on ministers to answer questions falls into a debate as to whether the use of te reo Māori is appropriate in this House. Yesterday, you said that you would go back and consider two pretty important things. One, whether the application of the convention in this House that te reo and English can be interchangeable regardless of the word, And two, whether it is appropriate for members to question the legitimacy of other members given where they came from. Now, that response there to that question, albeit political, was simply about that very thing. And if we don't get clarity from you onto this issue, then I suspect we're going to be hearing that a lot, and it will lead to disorder, which of course is your job to maintain.
Well, the clarity point is, Speaker's point of order. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, this country has hard-working taxpayers who have spent billions of dollars over the years in an export-dependent nation to try and sell a name of a country called New Zealand. And this is all being changed without any mandate or access to the people of this country, which is our democratic responsibility.
So 2 points. Okay, we'll go with the Honourable Willie Jackson.
Some direction from you on this.
I'm trying to give it.
And I ask that very respectfully, given how precious the language is in this House, and I think you acknowledge that, but it is sadly being dumped on by two of the most senior Māori members in this Parliament who are questioning the legitimacy. And I ask you to make a ruling on this, yes or no, in terms of the legitimacy of Te Reo Māori.
Ohana Linden.
Support clarity from you, Mr. Speaker, in terms of the use of Te Reo Māori in the House. When thinking about the way that we do promote ourselves as Aotearoa New Zealand on the international stage, it's in all of our strategic documents, it's on our passports, so why can we not celebrate Te Reo Māori in this House?
Well, the first point is we most certainly can, and there is no question that standing orders make it appropriate for either language to be used in an interchangeable way. I don't think that standing order should become confused over a viewpoint that one person might have on the use of the word Aotearoa compared to another person's view on the use of that word. And it comes to the answering of, well, I'm in the middle of a ruling. You broke my flow. When it comes to the answering, of a question, as was raised there, I think it becomes very hard for the Speaker to determine that a question has not been addressed if the question is in the first place, in the answer, rejected. And I think that's the difficulty that we face here. But let me be very clear, standing order, I think it's 109, someone can check that if they like, makes it the use of either the English language or Te Reo Māori perfectly acceptable. There's no question about that. The Honourable Shane Jones.
So I'd like to draw your attention to an important point. Whilst it is correct you're something of an auditor of parliamentary conduct, the member from Labour is asking you to audit political narrative. That is not your role.
That's what I just said.
But, sir, day after day, when different political perspectives are being issued on controversial issues, you're getting dragged into it. That is not how Parliament should work.
Well, that's true. And but I have to say, from my own point of view, I'd be completely naive if I thought that political matters were never going to be discussed in this House, and that there wasn't somehow a number of occasions where people have differences. That's the point of having the Parliament, and all sides need to get a little less sensitive about some of the things that are said quite safely in this room, because we do have a safe democracy. Ricardo Mendes March. Yep.
I wanted to wait till the end of the question, particularly as a Prime Minister was answering questions to the Honourable Carmel Saponi. I noted something yesterday that has been repeated again, and that has been the delegitimization of people's contributions by using the time of arrival to someone who's a citizen to this country. I'm asking you to reflect as to the appropriateness of that, particularly because of the ramifications that has to people outside of this chamber. And when people are utilizing someone's date of arrival, it does seem like it delegitimizes someone standing in this House.
Well, it's all very well to say that the Speaker should become the interferer and run interference on all sorts of things in this House. The reality is that standing orders provide a remedy for people who have been offended in this House. Well, then what is the point? And I'm sorry to ask it, because I don't want to have a discussion about that here, but you're welcome to come and talk to me about that. I think I think the general public make up their own minds about these things, and I don't think that some of the claims that, and some of the extraordinary communications I've had on this bear out the way in which New Zealanders generally think. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Speaker, that last point of order was grossly out of time. The member, if he was going to make that point of order, had to raise it at the right time, but we've moved on. And coming late to the party and not knowing what the rules are, he got away with it. You should have stopped him on the basis that he was out of time.
Oh, well, you know, my failings are many in all of this stuff, which I freely admit. We'll move now to question 4. Point of order. The Honourable Kieran McAnulty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I had attempted to seek a point of order, but there were 2 prior, so I don't want to be accused of being out of time. As you point out, Standing Order 109, which you have clarified today, allows members of this House to address you in either English, Te Reo Māori or sign language. My point, however, was yesterday you made a suggestion that when it came to geographical terms, it might be reasonable to expect members to use the English version alongside the Te Reo Māori version. And I think that's the point that the House needs clarity on. Given by what you just said now, is it no longer your view that that is required? And if members want to say Aotearoa, or indeed, for example, whakaoriori instead of Masterton, you're not requiring us to follow it up with an English version?
Look, I said yesterday that I wanted to bring to the House a sound ruling on this. So I don't want to make it up from the seat. Didn't yesterday, I'm not doing it today. I certainly want to find out whether New Zealand geographic borders on all these things. So let's do it absolutely properly. But the other thing is the point I just made before. It's a debating House. People will say things that others don't like. Well, it goes for 2 sides. If people are getting upset about the use of a word here or there, unless it is grossly offensive, I don't think the Speaker should be interrupting. But I certainly have not stopped and will not stop people using an appropriate expression for whatever they're talking about in debate.
Speaking to that, sir.
Yeah, okay.
This is not a case of being sensitive. It's not a case of disagreeing with other members. This is a case of getting clarity from you as to how you are interpreting the rules. And I actually, frankly, don't think the suggestion that members seeking clarity from you, as is our rights, applying Speaker's rulings and standing orders, is anything to do with political debate or sensitivity of members.
Well, if it wasn't, it wouldn't have led to this discussion. But I will bring down a ruling first day back after the next recess. The Honourable Willie Jackson.
Mr. Speaker, speaking to this point of order, I appreciate that it's a tough position for you, but the angst in terms of particularly our Māori language community is high, because we have an expert in the Māori language in Mr. Jones, and we all acknowledge that and concede that, who is questioning the legitimacy of the usage of Te Reo Māori in the House. That's why we need clear clarification from you on its usage, because I appreciate it's tough when you have an expert for some reason coming out with the nonsense he's coming out with, and we need some clarity, because it's very clear you can use English or Māori. We just want some direction, sir.
Well, for the 3rd time today, can I say that Standing Order 109 stands, hasn't changed, and I'm not changing it. And I doubt that any Standing Orders Committee is going to change it. So there is no question that either language, or of the 3 options that people have, can be used in this House.